November 16, 2018. 3 in the morning. A 26-year-old American is sitting alone on a fishing boat anchored in the darkness off the coast of one of the most dangerous places on Earth. His name is John Allen Chau. He is a certified EMT. A trained wilderness guide. A skilled kayaker. He speaks 4 languages. He has been vaccinated against every disease modern medicine can identify. He carries a medical kit so comprehensive it includes a hemostat for pinching arteries and dental forceps specifically designed to remove arrows. He knows exactly what this island does to people who approach it. He is about to kayak toward it alone anyway. In his waterproof journal, the one he will leave with the fisherman before he goes, he has just written a letter to his family. It ends like this: "You guys might think I'm crazy in all this. But I think it's worth it." He asks his parents not to be angry. Not at the island. Not at God. He tells them he will see them again someday. He signs it. Then he gets in the kayak. He does not come back. The island is called North Sentinel. 20 square miles of jungle in the Bay of Bengal. Population, unknown. Language, unknown. Culture, unknown. Contact attempts, decades of them. Survivors, almost none. Here is what we know: an arrow pierced his Bible on day 1. He swam a mile back to the fishing boat bleeding. He went back the next morning. His diary entry that night: "I don't want to die." He went back the morning after that. The fishermen watched from a distance. They saw the Sentinelese dragging something along the beach. His body has never been recovered. His father, a man who survived Mao's labor camps, said his son died from something more dangerous than any island. The island is still there. It has not changed. This is the story of John Allen Chau. What he wanted. What he did. What it cost. And the question that nobody who hears this story can fully answer: was he brave, or was he broken? Let me tell you about the kind of child John Allen Chau was. He was 10 years old when he found a book in his father's study. An old illustrated edition, heavy, spine-cracked from decades of reading. Robinson Crusoe. The story of a man shipwrecked on a deserted island who meets a native man, Friday, and converts him to Christianity. John read it in 2 days. Then he told his father he wanted to live like that when he grew up. His father, Patrick Chau, was a complicated man, and that detail matters enormously to this story, so hold on to it. Born in Guangzhou, China, in 1952. Trained as an artist. Then Mao's Cultural Revolution arrived, and at 16 years old, Patrick Chau was sent to a communal farm and made to work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 6 years. 6 years of forced labor. When he finally escaped to Hong Kong in 1974 and eventually to the United States, he put his head down and built a new life: odd jobs in Los Angeles, English learned from the radio, a chemistry degree at USC, medical school, a career as a psychiatrist. Patrick Chau survived one of the most brutal ideological movements of the 20th century. His youngest son would one day be consumed by a different ideology entirely. And Patrick would spend years asking himself if he had done something wrong. If he had failed to pass on the right lessons. If the same instinct that kept him alive, belief in something larger than yourself, had been redirected in his son towards something that would kill him. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. John grew up in Vancouver, Washington, Pacific Northwest, mountains, rivers, the kind of landscape that makes adventurers. He was the youngest of 3 children. He was, by every account from people who knew him, genuinely kind. Easy to be around. Humble. The kind of person who remembered your name and asked follow-up questions about your life. He was also, from an early age, wired for extremes. He joined the Royal Rangers, a Pentecostal scouting program, and achieved the Gold Medal of Achievement, the equivalent of Eagle Scout, which requires among other things reading the entire Bible. He went camping constantly. He ate wild berries on one family trip that destroyed several sleeping bags and ended the family's camping ambitions for a year. He read survival stories obsessively, Gary Paulson's Hatchet, about a boy surviving alone in the Alaskan wilderness. He loved John Muir, the naturalist. He loved David Livingstone, the explorer missionary who walked across Africa. He loved Jim Elliot, a missionary who was speared to death by an uncontacted tribe in Ecuador in 1956 at the age of 28. Notice what those last two have in common. The heroes John Chau chose as a boy were men who went to dangerous, unknown places to convert people who had never heard of Christianity. And the one he loved most, Jim Elliot, died doing exactly that. Jim Elliot grew up just across the Columbia River from Vancouver. Practically next door. When John was in high school, 16 years old, junior year, he went on a mission trip to Mexico to help build an orphanage. He came back changed. Something had clicked into place. The adventure and the faith and the extreme places had fused into a single purpose. He found the Sentinelese on a missionary database called the Joshua Project. The entry described them as extremely isolated. It mentioned that the Indian government bans all access to North Sentinel Island. It suggested praying for the government to allow Christians to reach them. John Chau read that entry and felt what he would later call, at 17 years old, his burden. Not a career goal. Not a dream. A burden. A weight placed on him specifically. He was a teenager. He never changed his mind. Before we go any further, you need to understand what North Sentinel Island actually is. Because it is not simply dangerous. It is something stranger and older than dangerous. North Sentinel is a 20-square-mile island in the Andaman Archipelago, Bay of Bengal, approximately 700 miles off the east coast of India. It is covered almost entirely by dense jungle. It has beaches on all sides. From the air, it looks like a green jewel in blue water. It looks beautiful. The people who live there have been isolated for approximately 60,000 years. 60,000 years. To put that in perspective, the Egyptian pyramids are 4,500 years old. The Roman Empire lasted 500 years. 60,000 years ago, Homo sapiens were still sharing the planet with Neanderthals. The Sentinelese have been on that island since before any of recorded human history. Since before writing, before agriculture, before the wheel. They are genetically distinct from every other population on Earth, having diverged from the human family tree tens of thousands of years ago. Their language has never been decoded. Their beliefs are unknown. Their social structure is unknown. Their population, estimates range from 50 to 500 people, is unknown. They have never, in any recorded encounter, wanted to speak to anyone from the outside world. Every contact attempt has ended the same way, arrows. In 1880, a British naval officer named Maurice Vidal Portman landed on the island with a large armed party, captured 6 Sentinelese, 2 adults and 4 children, and brought them to Port Blair for observation. The 2 adults died almost immediately of illness. Portman, apparently alarmed, returned the 4 children to the island with gifts. He recorded his expedition as a scientific success. The Sentinelese have been shooting at visitors ever since. In 1974, a National Geographic film crew approached in a motorized dinghy. The director was shot in the thigh with an arrow before they retreated. In 1981, a merchant ship called the Primrose ran aground on the reef surrounding North Sentinel. The crew, stranded on the ship for days, watched the Sentinelese gathering on the beach, building boats. They radioed desperately for help. A helicopter finally evacuated them. The Sentinelese watched from the beach. In 1991, a remarkable thing happened. A contact expedition led by a man named T.N. Pundit managed, after years of careful, patient approach, to receive Sentinelese tribespeople accepting coconuts from their boat. No arrows. Contact. An actual moment of communication. The Indian government declared this a breakthrough. They were going to build a relationship. They were going to bring the Sentinelese slowly into the modern world. A year later, the program was ended. The Sentinelese resumed their default position. The arrows came back. In 2006, 2 fishermen whose boat drifted near the island while they slept were killed by arrows. Their bodies were never recovered. The Indian government responded to these accumulated disasters with the Andaman and Nicobar Islands Protection of Aboriginal Tribes Regulation, a law that makes it illegal to approach within 3 miles of North Sentinel Island. The law was not designed primarily to protect outsiders from the tribe. It was designed to protect the tribe from outsiders. Because here is the central tragedy of any contact attempt with the Sentinelese: they have never been exposed to the common diseases of the outside world. Not influenza. Not measles. Not the common cold. Their immune systems have no antibodies for any of it. A well-intentioned visitor with a mild cold could walk onto that island and kill every single person on it within weeks. The island has not been shot up with arrows for 60,000 years because the Sentinelese are violent or primitive. The island has been defended because staying isolated is the only way these people survive. They just don't know that's why they're doing it. And into this situation, in November 2018, came a 26-year-old American with a waterproof Bible, a foldable kayak, and 9 years of preparation. Let's be absolutely clear about something. John Allen Chau was not reckless in the way that word usually gets used. He was not impulsive. He was not unprepared. He spent 9 years preparing for North Sentinel Island. 9 years. After high school, he enrolled at Oral Roberts University in Oklahoma, the same evangelical university his father had attended, and graduated cum laude in 2014 with a degree in exercise science. While there, he was already making trips to the Andaman Islands, which are the island chain of which North Sentinel is a part. Between 2015 and 2016 alone, he made 4 separate visits, building relationships with local Christians, learning the geography, studying the waters. He trained as an EMT. He became a certified wilderness guide and led dozens of hiking and camping expeditions across the Pacific Northwest. He trained as a scuba diver. He became an experienced kayaker. He studied linguistics, specifically, the research methods used by missionaries who had successfully made contact with isolated tribes. He attended a boot camp run by the evangelical organization All Nations, where missionary staff dressed up as hostile tribespeople and chased trainees through obstacle courses to simulate first contact scenarios. He received 13 vaccinations. He quarantined himself for 11 days before his final trip to ensure he carried no active pathogens. His medical kit included a hemostat to pinch arteries shut, a chest seal for puncture wounds, dental forceps specifically designed to extract arrows. He had clearly thought through the scenario of being shot and had prepared for it. He studied every previous contact attempt with the Sentinelese. He knew about Portman in 1880. He knew about T.N. Pundit's Coconut Exchange in 1991. He knew about the 2006 fishermen. He knew about every failed approach. He brought picture cards for communication. He brought fish as gifts. He brought a soccer ball. He had thought carefully about what objects might be universally understood as non-threatening. He also studied the story of Jim Elliot, the missionary from just across the river who was speared to death in Ecuador. Elliot's wife, Elizabeth, wrote a book about it. She eventually returned to live among the same tribe that killed her husband. She converted many of them. John Chau had read this story so many times he had parts of it memorized. He knew Elliot died. He knew it was possible, likely, that he would die too. He did not consider this a reason not to go. In his diary, he wrote, "I think I could be more useful alive, but to you, God, I give all the glory of whatever happens." This is the part of the story that splits every audience into 2 camps and has never been resolved. One camp looks at 9 years of meticulous preparation and sees a man who understood the risks and accepted them with full autonomy as an adult. A man of genuine conviction doing what he believed was a moral necessity. The other camp looks at the same 9 years and sees a person who was, from the age of 17, steered by an evangelical community toward a mission that was suicidal by design, the Jim Elliot template, the martyr's path, the idea that dying for the gospel is the highest possible calling. And that those 9 years of preparation were not preparation for survival, but preparation for a death that had been baked into the plan since high school. John's father, Patrick, the man who survived 6 years of Mao's forced labor camps, looked at his son's death and said this: "John is gone because Western ideology overpowered my influence." Extreme Christianity pushed him to a not unexpected end. Patrick Chau compared his son to a jihadist. His son's evangelical community called him a martyr. Both groups are describing the same person. November 14, 2018. John Chau paid 5 local fishermen 25,000 rupees, roughly 350, to take him to North Sentinel Island under cover of darkness. This was illegal. The fishermen knew it was illegal. Chau knew it was illegal. The law was clear: no approach within 3 miles. He crossed it anyway. The boat navigated through the darkness, watching for Indian Coast Guard patrols, following the western and southern shore of the island before anchoring offshore. In his diary, Chau noted the bioluminescent plankton glowing in the water around the boat as fish jumped through it. He wrote, "Like dancing mermaids shimmering." This was the man. The missionary and the poet, side by side. In the same paragraph where he noted the plankton, he also noted that he already had a scratch on his leg. He assembled his foldable kayak. On the morning of November 15, he paddled toward shore, staying deliberately outside what he estimated was arrow range while watching the tree lean for movement. He heard women's voices. Then he saw movement on the beach. He paddled closer. 2 armed Sentinelese men came out of the trees at a run, shouting. Chau stopped paddling. He held up the fish he had brought as gifts. He shouted back in the only Sentinelese adjacent language he had been able to study, Xhosa, a clicking language from southern Africa, which linguistic research suggested might share some structural similarities with ancient Andamanese languages. He tried to parrot their words back to them. They burst out laughing. He wrote in his diary, "They probably were saying bad words or insulting me." Then one of them, Chau thought it was a teenager, possibly just a boy, drew back his bow. The arrow struck the Bible Chau was holding. He wrote, "I paddled like I never have in my life back to the boat." He swam the last stretch when the water became too shallow to paddle, the diary held above his head, the arrow still in the Bible, and crawled back to the fishing boat. The fishermen wanted to leave. Chau told them he was going back tomorrow. That night, he wrote in his diary for a long time. He wrote about the encounter. He wrote about his fear. He was honest. Chau's honesty in his diary is one of the things that makes his story impossible to dismiss. He was not performing courage in those pages. He was working through his terror in real time. He wrote, "I'm scared. There, I said it." He wrote, "I don't want to die." He wrote, "Would it be wiser to leave and let someone else continue?" No. I don't think so. And then he wrote one of the most haunting lines in the diary, staring at the sunset from the fishing boat, the island a dark shape against the horizon, watching the sunset and it's beautiful, crying a bit, wondering if it'll be the last sunset I see. God, I don't want to die. Who will take my place if I do? Oh God, I miss my parents. He set down the pen. He watched the darkness take the island. He went back the next morning. On November 16, John Chau asked the fishermen to drop him off and then drive the boat away. His reasoning: the previous day, the Sentinelese had seen the boat and reacted to it as a threat. If the boat disappeared, maybe the presence of one man alone in a small kayak would seem less threatening. Maybe one man who kept coming back, kept offering fish, kept making no aggressive moves, would eventually read differently to the tribe than a 30-foot wooden fishing vessel. It was a reasonable theory. It was also, as he himself noted in his diary, a shot in the dark. He paddled to shore. This time the encounter was different. stranger, more layered. He sang Christian hymns from the kayak. The Sentinelese, initially hostile, sometimes went quiet when he sang. One moment he interpreted as possible curiosity. A young child ran to the beach to look at him. He wrote, "The islanders saw me and blocked my exit." He wrote that one man came close, unarmed, while another held a knife. He shouted the only words he had, "My name is John. I love you and Jesus loves you." The tribesmen stared at him. He began to paddle back. Back on the fishing boat, he wrote his final diary entry. This is the one that has been read millions of times since his death. The one that has been debated in theology classes and anthropology departments and comment sections across the internet. He wrote to his family. He asked them not to be angry at the Sentinelese. He asked them not to be angry at God. He told them the eternal lives of the tribe were at hand. He told them he couldn't wait to see the Sentinelese around the throne of God. He wrote, "I love you all and I pray none of you love anything in this world more than Jesus Christ." He signed it, Soli Deo Gloria. Glory to God alone. He also wrote, above the formal letter, in the margin, almost as an aside, the line that every headline used, "You guys might think I'm crazy in all this. But I think it's worth it to declare Jesus to these people." Then he handed the diary to the fishermen and told them, "If I don't come back, take this to my friend Alexander in Port Blair." He asked the fishermen to pray for him. He asked them to wait. He got in a kayak. He paddled toward the island. It was the last time anyone who knew him saw him alive. The fishermen waited. They watched from a safe distance, far enough to avoid arrows, close enough to see the beach. November 17, 2018. At some point during that morning, the fishermen saw movement on the beach. The Sentinelese were on the shore. They were dragging something. Dipendra Pathak, the director of Andaman and Nicobar Police, later described what the fishermen reported. They identified it as a body based on the silhouette, the clothing, and the circumstances. The Sentinelese were burying him on the beach. The fishermen did not go closer. They could not have saved him. They turned the boat around and went back to Port Blair. Nobody knows exactly what happened between the moment Chau paddled toward the island and the moment the fishermen saw his body. The beach was too far away. The jungle obscures everything. There was no one to ask. There are no witnesses. The island absorbed what happened and kept it. There was a brief discussion about whether India might attempt to retrieve the body. The government considered it. The problem was not the Sentinelese, it was disease. Any recovery team landing on North Sentinel would carry pathogens the tribe had never encountered. A military retrieval operation could wipe out the entire Sentinelese population. The body was left on the island. John Allen Chau is still there. He is buried on a beach on North Sentinel Island, in the Bay of Bengal, in soil that belongs to a people he never managed to speak to. He is 26 years old in that soil. He will be 26 years old there forever. The news broke on November 21, 2018. And the internet did what the internet does. Within hours, John Allen Chau was either a martyr or an idiot. There was almost no middle ground. Christians mourned him as a man who gave his life for his faith. Anthropologists condemned him for potentially exposing an uncontacted people to lethal disease. Social media found him absurd. Strangers eulogized him. Strangers mocked him. His Instagram photos were shared and analyzed. His diary entries were parsed for signs of mental illness or signs of sainthood. Almost nobody asked what his family was feeling. His mother, Linda, posted to his Instagram account on behalf of the family. She wrote that John had nothing but love for the Sentinelese. She asked for prayers. She said the family forgave the tribe. His father, Patrick, the man from Guangzhou who survived 6 years of forced labor under Mao, who came to America with nothing, who built a life and a family and a medical career, who had watched his son develop an obsession from the age of 17 that he privately feared would end exactly like this, Patrick gave one interview. He told The Guardian, "John is gone because Western ideology overpowered my influence. Extreme Christianity pushed him to a not unexpected end." He compared his son to a soldier dying in a holy war. He said he had tried to pass on Confucian philosophy, balance, moderation, the middle path. He said the evangelical world was too dominant. He said he and John had, at some point, agreed to disagree and stop talking about it. Patrick Chau survived a totalitarian ideology that tried to erase who he was. He watched his son be consumed by a different ideology that told him dying for a cause was the highest form of love. 2 ideologies. 1 family. 1 beach on an island that still doesn't know any of this happened. The fishermen who took Chau to the island were arrested by Indian authorities. They were charged under the laws protecting the Sentinelese. They faced prosecution. The All Nations Missionary Organization, the one that trained Chau, ran him through hostile tribesperson simulations, vaccinated him, and sent him off prepared, called him a martyr. Their leader said the privilege of sharing the gospel often involves great cost. 6 of the fishermen who had nothing to do with the plan beyond earning $350 for a boat ride faced prison time. There was no discussion of what the evangelical organizations that had been cultivating Chau's mission since high school might owe to anyone. The Indian Coast Guard tightened patrols around North Sentinel. John Chau's body was not recovered. His body has still not been recovered. And here is the final thing. The one that makes this story bigger than one man's faith and one island's arrows. In March 2025, a 24-year-old American named Mikhailo Polyakov hired a boat and landed on North Sentinel Island. He left a Coca-Cola can and a coconut on the beach. He took a video. He posted it to TikTok. It got 1.8 million views. He was arrested by Indian authorities on his way back. The Sentinelese, as far as anyone knows, did not see him. Or did not care. Or chose not to respond. The island did not change. Here is the question that North Sentinel Island asks every single person who hears about it, whether they are a missionary or a tourist or someone watching a TikTok at 2 in the morning. What do you do with the people who have chosen, for 60,000 years, to be left alone? Do you respect it as the deepest expression of human autonomy? Or do you see it as an isolation that, whether from disease or climate change or the slow encroachment of the modern world, will eventually end on terms they didn't choose, and ask yourself whether someone with good intentions and a foldable kayak could have changed that? John Allen Chau had an answer. He believed the eternal lives of the Sentinelese were worth dying for. You can think he was brave. You can think he was broken. You can think he was both. The island doesn't care what you think. It was there 60,000 years before John Allen Chau paddled toward it. It will be there long after the last person who remembers his name is gone. If you want more true stories of survival, exploration, and the thin line between failure and triumph, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.